In this tutorial, I'll teach you how to turn your handwritten signature into a custom logo using your mobile phone and some quick adjustments in Adobe Photoshop. Once we've converted your signature into a digital image, I'll show you how to use it as a watermark inside of Adobe Lightroom and Lightroom Classic. Adding a digital version of your actual signature provides a nice personal touch when sharing work online or delivering photographic prints. This project is pretty easy, and it begins with a pen and paper. So let's jump in and let's get started. The first thing that you are going to need today is a clean sheet of white paper and a thick black marker. Using a marker, draw your signature out across the paper. When you write, go big and print large. The extra stroke weight ensures smooth, well-defined edges during extraction. Next, we need to take a picture of your signature using your smartphone. If needed, shoot photos of your signature near a window and avoid casting shadows across the paper. Take your time and get a good picture, since uneven lighting or poor focus will make things more difficult once we sit down at the computer. Once you have a clear photograph, we need to transfer a full resolution copy of this image over to your computer. There are many ways to accomplish this task. If you're a Mac user, you might be able to send a copy of this image from your mobile device directly to your computer using Apple's AirDrop feature. If AirDrop is not for you, then you could email the full resolution image to yourself and save it as an attachment. Or, if downloading a copy of this image from a cloud storage service like Google Photos or Apple Photos is your preferred method, well, that's fine too. No matter what option you choose, what we ultimately need is a full resolution copy of your signature image saved either in your computer's downloads folder or on your desktop. Once you have accomplished this task, then we can set the phone aside and we can get to work inside of Adobe Photoshop. I promise that this is not going to be a long, complex Photoshop tutorial. So when Photoshop opens, let's create a new document using File, New. In here, let's configure this document so that it is 900 pixels wide by 300 pixels tall. Let's use the horizontal orientation at 300 pixels per inch. For the background, let's choose transparent. We'll hit create and we'll get this little rectangular canvas. Now to add your signature into this document, we're going to use the File Place Embedded command. When this window appears, please guide Photoshop to the file that you transferred over from your phone. Once I found it, I'll hit Place. And since we're bringing this image in using the Place command, you now have the option to resize your image by dragging out the handles in each corner. Be sure to hold down the Alt key on a PC keyboard or the Option key on a Mac keyboard, though, when you drag these handles so that it will scale proportional. If needed, you can put the cursor inside the rectangle and click and drag to reposition. Try to make your signature as big as possible, and when it fills up most of the canvas, hit the Done button to commit the placement. That was the hardest step. Next, I like to add a tiny bit of blur to my signature. Adding a little blur keeps things from looking too jagged once we remove all the white space. To add some blur, go Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and add 1 to 1.5 pixels of blur. Now, we need to get rid of the white paper. The easiest way to do this in recent versions of Photoshop is to use the Remove Background command from the contextual menu bar. This method uses artificial intelligence to create a mask for you. Next, I'm going to add a brightness contrast adjustment layer onto the top of my layer stack. I'll go Layer, New Adjustment Layer, Brightness Contrast. And here, I'll lower the brightness and raise the contrast. This is great. So now we need to save our work. And for this project, we'll save our signature using two different file formats. First, I'm going to save what we see now as a PSD file. To do that, I'll go File, Save As. And then I'll pick the Photoshop file format. When Photoshop asks where you want to put this file, pick Desktop. And for a file name, I'm going to call this one Black Signature 900px by 300px. Next, we need to create a PNG copy, since that is the file format that Lightroom uses for watermarks and logos. To create that type of file, we can use Photoshop's File, Export, Export As command. In this window, choose the PNG format, enable transparency, don't change the size at all, and don't worry about what you see here in the preview window. Trust me, your results will look much better than what preview currently displays. We can hit export, we can again save this to the desktop, and we can use the same file name that we used for the PSD version, since this one will be stored in a much simpler file format. That's it. That's the whole process. So to move along, I can close this file and I can exit or quit out of Photoshop. Since there are two types of Lightroom, let me jump into the Adobe Lightroom desktop application first, since it has the simpler user interface. Once you get into Lightroom cloud-based, adding our signature watermark is easy. All that we need to do is to select an image that's ready to be shared, and then we can activate Lightroom's File, Export command. I'm going to ignore all of the critical export settings in here, except for the Include Watermark option. But if you're playing along, please take the time to pick the right file format or the right image size before you actually export an image. Anyway, to use our signature, I'm going to tap here where it says Include Watermark, and then I'll tap on this little gear symbol to open up the Watermarks editor. When we get to this screen, I'm going to tap on the word Graphic at the top, and then I'll tap in this box below where it says please choose a PNG or JPEG image. I can lead this one to my desktop, and there I'll find my Black Signature 900 by 300px PNG. I'll choose it, and now I can adjust the look of my signature using the anchor point, the size, and the offset controls to move it wherever I'd like. If I want to make my signature semi-see-through, I can do that too by adjusting the opacity. When you're happy with the way that your signature looks, tap on the Done button at the top right, and then tap on the blue Export button to complete this file. Let me close out of Lightroom and I'll show you the results. That looks perfect. Now that we know that this logo works, let me switch over to Lightroom Classic since it gives us more options. There are two ways that we can use our signature PNG file inside of Lightroom Classic. Like the last demo, I'm going to select an image that I've already edited, and then I'm going to tap on the Export button at the bottom left of the Library module. When the Export dialog opens, key in all of the settings that make sense for the type of file that you want Classic to create for you, or activate an export preset. I already have a preset that I built years ago for email-sized JPEG copies, so I'll use that one. But to add my signature, I need to come down to the Watermark tab near the bottom of the Export dialog and tap on the Watermark box. Next, tap here and choose the Edit Watermarks option from the bottom of the flyout menu. This will bring us into Classic's Watermarks Editor window. Starting at the top right, tap on the word Graphic for the watermark style, then guide it to your desktop or wherever you stored your PNG and choose that file. Now, you can use the size, the anchor point, and the inset features to adjust where your watermark sits over your image. One thing that trips people up here is that there's only a Save button. In this case, Classic is actually being helpful, since saving this watermarks configuration means that you can use the same settings on another image or thousands of other images without having to adjust everything all over again. I'll call this one black signature bottom left. And at this point, we're back to Classic's standard export dialog with our watermark active. And there we go. My signature looks great. And now you know all of the essential steps in this tutorial. Well, there you go. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you learned something today, then please leave us a like or a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in our next tutorial.